What's up, Fort Worth family? It's BigBossFabo, and we back again with a video for the channel, back with the trending news reaction. This video actually dropped yesterday, and this judge finds Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder in deadly Strongsville crash that killed 2. So I guess she was found guilty of murder in the deadly 2022 crash that killed her boyfriend as well as another teen. I'm not really familiar with this story, but after a quick search, it was stated Mackenzie Shirilla was 17 when she drove her 2018 Toyota Camry 100 miles per hour into a building on July 31st, 2022 in Strongsville, Ohio. A northern judge found the 19-year-old woman, dating to today, guilty of intentionally driving her car into a brick wall to kill her boyfriend and another passenger who was in the car last year. So they're saying she intentionally planned to murder her boyfriend and this other individual by driving her car into a brick wall. This is crazy, man. Let's hop into this video for additional context and see what WKYC Channel 3 has to say.
This trial is a culmination of decisions made by one person, the defendant. Those decisions have forever altered the futures of 3 families, and of you also, Mackenzie. And your decisions forever robbed Dominic and Davion of the futures that they had before them. If there is one thing that can be taken away from this case, as painful as it is this. Every decision we make is important.
Thanks.
Every action we make is important. Regardless of whether the decision is a good one or a bad one, or the actions are good or not, the result is the same. The consequences ripple through time and affect many more people than one might think at the time of the decision. In criminal cases, the state carries the greatest burden under our law, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As I previously stated, I considered all the evidence presented, and at this point I would like to comment specifically on Exhibit 802, the crash video. This is the type of evidence you can never unsee. You can never forget the visual or audio of this exhibit. It is chilling and tragic. As you review that exhibit, you know that you are watching the oncoming deaths of 2 people, and there is nothing.
So my first assumption was that she was under the influence. After reading further into this, we hear that, or we see that, reported by Cleveland News, the teens had smoked marijuana together on the night of the incident. As a result, the traces of THC in Shirilla's system exceeded the Ohio legal limit. Now, you learn something new every day, bro. I did not know that they actually had a legal limit of THC consumption in terms of, I guess, associating DUI or DWI. I'm not even sure the classification there, but, because being high is still a form, I guess, being under the influence. I don't think they tied into it as intoxication, but it's a DUI is what I would assume. So 1 teen, 1 adult, and the sentence carries mandatory life. Man, crazy.
That will stop it. The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant. She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. Mackenzie alone made the decision to drive the car, to drive an obscure route, a route she visited a few days before, and a route not routinely taken by her. Mackenzie alone chose the time to make the drive, early in the morning, when any reasonable person would expect that few people would be nearby to witness it or offer life-saving assistance. She made these decisions despite knowing, as any reasonable person would, that her mission of death could have involved others, not even in the car with her, other people, other cars, pedestrians. She had a mission, and she executed it with precision.
This is my thing, man. I just kind of want to understand the context behind what's happening. Like, what led up to this, man? You're 17 years old, right? Like, what is so serious to where you want to kill these individuals? So this happened at 5:30 a.m. What 17-year-olds are out and about at 5:30, 5 in the morning? It's like, I don't know what to think, whether they were out all night and they was coming home late at night, or they woke up at 5 a.m. just to smoke. I don't get it. Like, what 17-year-olds are out, out and about at 5:30 in the morning? So basically, they state she was suddenly driving and accelerated to a speed of 100 miles per hour, drove the car straight into a building where airbags were deployed. I'm assuming she wanted to kill everyone in the vehicle, including herself. Because there's no guarantee that she would have survived. So I'm assuming that she wanted to kill herself along with the other young men. She was just the one that actually survived.
Mission was death. Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor and demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles per hour. She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day, and she alone made that decision for Dominic and Davion, and she continuously acted in a manner to achieve her purpose. Whether or not she intended to also kill herself is a matter of speculation and have no relevance to the weighing of the evidence in this case. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates that Mackenzie Shirilla acted purposely and intentionally in the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, and her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful.
And this is my thing tying into that statement. Her actions were controlled, methodical, and deliberate. I mean, just tying into DUIs and being under the influence of particular substances. People try to, demonize marijuana, try to put it in a category that it's just like this evil thing. But on the other hand, they advocate for the fact that she was able to think calculated and methodically. That proves that marijuana has never been a substance that really, puts you in a mind state of doing things that the body doesn't have recollection of. Of course, we can tie that to alcohol, being very aggressive, anger, outlashes, no recollection of decisions, various different traits, characteristics that tie to alcohol abuse. Now, marijuana abuse, that's not the case. That's not the case. Some people can't really smoke. And I'm not trying to advocate for it, but this is common sense. You can't sit in the courtroom and say that she had methodical decision making and calculated decision making when you specify in the report she was under the influence of THC. I mean, that's a direct bridge to the fact that you can think coherently, you can think calculated. You can be very methodical under the influence of it. But on the other hand, alcohol is not the same. You're not that calculated. There's no really method to the madness when people are drunk and commit crazy, heinous crimes. So I'm just here to say, man, it's a hoax for people to believe. Certain people can't sustain being high. It's not that the whole world is falling apart. I think it's just their mental capacity can't control it. But I'm just here to state the facts, bro. It's a lie when people say marijuana it's the gateway drug and make you do all this and that. I don't believe that because here in court, we're hearing the judge even specify, after reviewing the case, being under the influence, THC consumption, she still was able to come to collected, calm, calculated choices and decisions.
This was not reckless driving. This was murder. Court renders the following verdicts. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count 1. Count 2, the court,
Family in
having
the
had
back,
count
man.
2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Count 3, murder. The court, having had count 3 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant.
Family's destroyed, man. I'm assuming this is probably her mom and her dad, but I've always wondered during this 2-year sentencing period or whatever, they're reviewing evidence before I guess it's brought before the judge and a jury decides on it. What's going on in that 2 years? Like, the child is able to live a normal life. I mean, obviously at that point your life is never normal, but I couldn't be able to comprehend how that child's day-to-day is during that waiting period to be sentenced. Like, what are you doing? And, the whole world knows about what you did. And, I don't know. I think I pulled my child from school because you can only imagine the harassment, the critiques she would receive.
Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02B, as charged in count 3. Count 4, murder. The court, having had count 4 tried to it pursuant to waiver.
It's everything you wished for. Your site traffic is skyrocketing. Until this happens.
Finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02B, is charged in count 4. Count 5, felonious assault. The court, having had count 5 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11 of the Revised Code, is charged in count 5 of the indictment. Count 6, felonious assault. The court, having had count 6 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A2, is charged in count 6. Count 7, felonious assault. The court, having had count 7 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of felonious assault, to wit, 3.11A1, as charged in count 7. Count 8, felonious assault. The court, having...
Bruh, how many counts?
Guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A2, as charged in count 8. Count 9, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having had count 9 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.06A2A, is charged in count 9. Count 10, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having 11 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of having had...
Man. We'll go ahead and end the video there. Guilty verdict, you know what I mean? So, crazy world we live in. Not to act like these type of things are new, but it's just crazy, time and time again, when we see these certain situations, things that occur, man, it doesn't cease to baffle or just open a surprising eye to, man. Children of the world, man. If y'all hearing this message, be very, very cautious with choices and decisions you make. Me being a kid myself, it's only God's grace that I'm here today, because I was a knucklehead doing a lot of crazy, wild, rambunctious things that could have easily got me killed or put me, things that could have had me harm other people. You know what I mean? Not in a negative light, like in an aggressive light in that sense, but more so just being under the influence, making dumb choices. And that's the thing, man. It's just crazy. When you're a child, you don't really understand. And you want to be so rebellious and do things your own way. But when you grow up, you understand, man, a lot of things my parents did for me was just for my own protection. it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about it. You just got to be vigilant. You got to continue to learn, continue to be patient with life. Don't make hasty choices. You got to be smart. You got to be smart, man. Just take the elderly advice. Take the grown folks' advice. Take your superior, your seniors' advice, because they've been there. They've seen situations. They know the outcomes or how things could possibly turn out. I really pray for the youngins of today's world, because we live in such a chaotic world nowadays. Everything is so accessible. So it's just wild. It's just wild, man. And condolences to the family that lost these children, man, at a young age. And, hopefully she learned from this. And I don't know, during her sit down time, some positivity and light can come from it. And, and that may sound like a crazy statement to some, but I do believe that, the Lord tends to use a lot of things for other people's benefit, or not benefit. That's not a correct word. For other people's assistance and help. A lot of us go through some of the worst things, get dragged through the mud. But those same things turn out to be a blessing for us, believe it or not, no matter how extreme, especially if you believe in God, you believe in Jesus. All things work for the benefit or for the good of those that love him, no matter how many mistakes we make. You got to believe that, man. I've been through some situations to where I thought there was going to be I didn't know how it was going to come out or how this could be a positive thing. But now reflecting on that situation, it only made me stronger, changed my perception, it only built me up, and put me in a position to help people that face similarities or being able to empathize with other people. So believe it or not, man, it's weird how things tend to work. But like I said, man, prayers out to everybody affected by this situation. So that's judge finds Mackenzie Shirilla guilty of murder in deadly Strongsville crash. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this in the comment section below. Peace, love, prosperity. Everybody rocking with the channel. Everybody out there, man. God bless. Stay safe. We out.